Yeah, of course we've been following on the news this synod, and the question to the cardinal is what we scientists in Brazil can do to help this event that will happen in the next few months. If you feel that there is anything we can do to help the organization as well as the participation to make it a big success.
Sì, è possibile di fare molto e cose importanti. Io penso che soprattutto di dare conoscenza alla società, e soprattutto a quello che è il nostro proprio ambito di attuazione, il vostro ambito di attuazione, la conoscenza di che cosa si tratta nel Sinodo, perché in modo generale uno ha l'impressione che c'è poca informazione, la società umana ha poca informazione su questa crisi ecologica e climatica. Sono tutti un po' impauriti davanti a quello che vedono e che ascoltano, però non sono informati perché la grande media è sustentata da quegli interessi che non vogliono che si tocchi in questi temi, e perciò la grande media parla poco di quello, parla sì dei disastri e così via, e la gente è sempre più impaurita. Ma perché questo? Cosa capita con il nostro pianeta? Cosa capita con il nostro clima e tutto quanto? La gente si domanda e non hanno risposte, poche risposte. Vuol dire manca la informazione della società e anche la formazione, perché si dovrebbe anche dire alla società quali sono le cause di questa crisi. Le cause, questo è importante. La gente è intelligente, la società è intelligente, ma uno deve dire quali sono le grandi cause. Però non basta dire una volta, è una cosa che si deve ripetere affinché la gente poco a poco assorbisca queste informazioni. Quali sono le grandi cause che stanno dietro di questa crisi? Perché c'è questa crisi? E anche quali sono le soluzioni che si devono mettere in pratica, le soluzioni. E lì, come io dicevo, è un lavoro che ha costi astronomici, la questione per esempio di cambio di energia, di una energia sporca ad un'energia limpa, pulita, diciamo così. E come fare questo cambio? E che questo è importante di fare. Come anche nella città la gente deve essere attenta, per esempio, a non sprecare le cose, non sprecare cibo, non sprecare acqua, non contaminare acqua, non sprecare energia, avere una vita meno consumistica, infine, con meno scarti di tutto quanto, infine. Come far capire alla gente che questo ha un peso molto forte per il futuro del pianeta. Anche per esempio come trattare la basura, i detriti della società, i residui della società, per esempio, residui sia domestici, residui delle industrie, residui anche atomiche, sì, e così via. Come trattare questi residui per restituirli alla natura e la natura possa veramente assorbirli come aiuto per essere più fertili, non per contaminare e degradare la terra. Infine, io credo che la cosa oggi è importantissima che tutti voi potete fare nel vostro ambito, di cercare di far conoscere queste cose e di insistere che è necessario e urgente di farlo, perché questa urgenza anche La gente poco a poco sa che è urgente, ma non vede niente molto concreto delle loro autorità. E è lì che il Papa dice che è necessario organizzare la società e fare un po' di pressione. Fare un po' di pressione, ma pacifica, certo, democratica, però la società organizzata può dare volontà politica ai politici.
Okay, Virgilio.
Let me say in English. We both speak Portuguese, so it's hard to look at Cardinal Gomes and say it in English. But I think one of the messages that come out of your talk is the importance of communicating the issue of the Amazon to society as a whole. And we have seen here a number of presentations showing how powerful museums and botanical gardens and zoological gardens can be in communicating. So one idea that comes to my mind is that possibly we could have a collaborative action to have one exhibit, a global exhibit, on the Amazon that highlights the importance of the Amazon to global climate and the dynamics of the ecosystems and the concept of integral ecology that Pope Francis speaks so clearly. So that's one thing. The second is that I think we could engage the museums into action for the Amazon. And this could be maybe building new alliances between museums that have animals and plants from the Amazon, getting funds and volunteers and new partnerships to help push forward the agenda. So that's number two. And the third thing that comes to my mind is an idea that I've talked to Professor Joaquin and Cardinal Gomes and Monsieur Marcelo, which is an idea of having a science meeting on the Amazon that could also bring together experts from the museums and botanical gardens. So these are the three things that come to my mind after the very clear presentation of Cardinal Gomes.
Shall we go on? Sollen wir weitermachen? May I ask Maria Clara if you have a comment from Colombia?
About the Amazonic? Well, in the case of Colombia, we have like a 15% of the portion of the Amazonic in our country. And sometimes I say that we are lucky because we don't really have like developed in these areas. But what is happening in this moment is in the south part of Colombia, in Leticia, near to the Amazonic River. The four autopistas that I call the highways that are coming from Brazil, open the Amazonic. I think they will take our Amazonic by Brazil, because we don't have highways from Colombia, just very simple roads to go there. It's very difficult to get there. You have to go by rivers or fly to Leticia, but otherwise, if you can see by Google, you will see it, how Brazilians are up in the Amazonic, and they will take us, Colombian Amazonic by Brazil. It's very sad. It's my perception.
Mm-hmm. Alberto, would you like to comment, please? Go ahead. Microphone.
One of the main problems in Colombia is the devastation of Amazon region because illicit crops. It's a very big problem. And we offer to the Synod that we could help from the civil society to help how to preserve Amazon region. We have a botanic garden in the south of Colombia that a lady from the Amazon ethnia collected 500 different species of medicinal plants. It's a very big investigation about the uses by the ethnias in the Amazon. So we could collaborate with the Synod to help to enhance how to do many things in our country, and because as Maria Clara said, we have a very big part of the Amazon region in our country.
Let me ask two colleagues and then close it. Zwei mehr und dann machen wir Schluss. Peter Raven, academician. Briefly, both. And then Bruno.
Okay. I have 4 short points. First, I wasn't quite sure, is the aim to develop a plan for the sustainability of the whole Amazon, in which case you would need to involve probably hundreds of individual scientists in quite a scientific compendium, and I'm not quite sure what the word synod means. When I read the first description of this synod, it was very strongly religious and talked about the spread of Catholicism and working with people's religion in those places. And I'm not sure to what extent that's changed, but the talk you gave seemed to be more biological and scientific. I'm sure that scientists, there are many, many, many scientists all over the world who would love to help in this. The second point is, I wasn't quite clear how much focus there would be on indigenous people, because there was a huge amount of talk about indigenous people, but there are far more non-indigenous people living in the Amazon than there are indigenous people, and there are some sizable centers like Manaus, Belém, Leticia, and so forth. If you're talking about sustainability for the whole Amazon, you have a very complex interaction, obviously, between indigenous people and non-indigenous people. And then finally, you mentioned politics, but many of us have been following the political decisions, for example, of Brazilian President Bolsonaro, and he has promulgated many views that, would contradict sustainability in the Amazon, which it seems to me might make this a very, very political issue. On the other hand, there are many other voices in Brazil. It's by no means a united country on the views of the administration any more than the United States is. But the politics of that, I think, and I would love to have the couple of people here from Brazil to comment on that, are hugely complicated at this point in time. And I noticed you started before this administration in Brazil, when things were much more overtly directed to conservation, although even then the effects of what was being done, were always had to be measured and thought about, as they do everywhere in the world.
Bruno?
Yes, it's just a kind of short announcement. I can tell you that in 2 years from now, we'll have a big photo exhibit in Paris at the Musée de l'Homme called Amazonia by Sebastião Salgado, the Brazilian photographer. And he will present a big exhibition of his photos in Sao Paulo, I think, and together with Paris, in order to sensibilize the people to the question of Amazonia in general. And I think because the photos are very famous and very nice, it's a good way to do it also.
Mm-hmm. Wilhelm Bartlott, last.
Ich sollte in Deutsch reden, but I'll do it in English. I was extremely impressed by your repeated statement, respecting our differences. Respecting our differences. And I think that's one of the main problems in an age of soul representation. We want to determine the rules of the games. And diversity comes from difference. Respect differences. We have an enormous difference in colors, cultures, and whatever. Respect it, and I was very impressed.
Would you like to pick up any of these deep thoughts from the colleagues, or let it stand as this?
Sì, soltanto vorrei dire che proprio il Papa e tutti noi siamo molto interessati in che il Sinodo abbia una fondamentazione scientifica sufficiente, una fondamentazione culturale, storica, infine. E questo sono i periti delle materie che sono lì e che vogliamo veramente accogliere anche queste opinioni no, diciamo così, questi fondamenti scientifici più profondi, perché il Papa dice dobbiamo avere questa sicurezza di parlare con fondamentazione e non soltanto con un'opinione o qualche cosa che mi pare. No, non mi pare, si deve avere veramente una fondamentazione nell'affermazione che il Sinodo farà. In questo senso dico anche all'Accademia qui, tutti voi che siete in questo livello anche di ricerche scientifiche nelle vostre aree, siete veramente molto benvenuti nella misura in cui volete aiutare in questo processo. Non dico aiutare la Chiesa Cattolica, ma aiutare l'umanità, aiutare a tutti noi che vogliamo insieme con voi lavorare. Il Papa dice che la Chiesa non vuole lavorare sola e chiusa come se avesse un progetto proprio, no. La Chiesa vuole mettersi accanto insieme con tante altre forze, organizzazioni, eccetera, che sono veramente interessati in vincere questa grande crisi. E anche la questione, per esempio, degli indigeni. Veramente gli indigeni sono una piccola parte della popolazione e una grande parte ancora di questi indigeni sono in città attualmente, perché sono forzati per tanti motivi, sono forzati a lasciare la sua cultura, il suo territorio e andare in città. E in città loro si perdono, perché dentro loro rimangono indigeni, loro stessi lo dicono. Fuori forse sono dei tecnici, dei professori, infine qualcuno, però la grande maggioranza sono poverissimi nelle città, però ci sono anche quelli che fanno università, eccetera, però in fondo dentro ha un vuoto, perché hanno perso la sua identità e c'è un vuoto tragico dentro di questa gente che da mille anni sono venuti in una storia, in una identità e entrano in un'altra cultura totalmente diversa. Loro non hanno niente da fare con la storia, l'identità e la cultura europea. Loro vengono di un altro vertente, diciamo così. E questo si deve rispettare, e accogliere e dare a loro lo spazio affinché possano arricchire anche il futuro nostro. Sì. Grazie.
Well, Your Eminence, I'm sure you gathered that the Pontifical Academy of Science is very supportive of your plans, offers its services on the scientific front with knowledge and science on sustainability science we call it, in the broad sense. Economic, social, cultural, and environmental sustainability. That the Amazon needs to be saved with the people, for the people who live in the Amazon, is of course central. But the fundamental conflict relates to the fact that the Amazon is owned by the countries where the Amazon is, but it belongs also to the whole world. Now, we must find ways to compensate the countries for the global environmental service that the Amazon, if well protected, is giving to the rest of the world. Otherwise, we would exploit or be free riders of the protection of the Amazon by the nations who own in legal ways the Amazon. So I would encourage that the Synod includes also reasonable representation of the rest of the world in order to come to an agreement, because climate, water cycle, air quality, biodiversity are global goods which can be protected or be doomed depending on the future of the Amazon. Thank you and best wishes for your big initiative.
Yes, dear colleagues, getting back now to the session where we emphasized a little more on zoological gardens, I would like to draw a little bit a line between what I said when we saved as zoos or as a private person the Per David deer and the European bison, which was done in the zoos with the animals, and coming then to the research in zoos, what Mark highlighted on, when we had the methods developed in zoos and the research done in zoos, it's helping now the species in situ at their habitats where they come from. So that is something how zoos developed, and it took us 100 years. We are again coming back to the to what we already stated, that we have to give it time, but we have no time. That is true, but still we cannot expect that the developing countries do it in 5 years what we needed 100 years for. That perhaps one thought about it, but please, do you have any questions to Mark's presentation about the zoo-led research? Something you would like to ask him?
I just wanted to say how much I personally enjoyed your presentation, and also to say that although there are many advantages in the way we can preserve plants, which of course we'll all talk about tomorrow, I think it's fair to say we're really envious of the networking that zoos have done about endangered species, which we have almost complete void there. Botanic Gardens Conservation International, which Paul Smith will talk about tomorrow, keeps registers of what's in cultivation, botanical gardens and all, but when it comes to something like the 11,000 or so species endemic in the Cape region of South Africa, for example, it would be very good to try to know how we were managing them. It's a different scale, but it's precisely the same problem. We have good networks in the U.S., the Center for Plant Conservation, which John Clark will talk about tomorrow. And in Australia, they have an excellent network, and in South Africa, they have significant collections. But we could use an awful lot more coordination between those of the 3,500 botanical gardens who are involved in conservation. And BGCI goes a long way in supplying that, but we still have a long way to go. So envy and satisfaction I would express about your speech. Good work. And the Wildlife Conservation Society, of course, in New York, operates in much the same way that you do on a huge scale, does an effective job, as do many zoos, and you know, we do feel envious.
Thank you, Peter. First, Mr. Wallace, and then
Yeah,
Paul.
I would like to add a few words very close to what Peter said. I think I was also really impressed by your presentation, because for me, it's a clear example of how conservation in general should be pursued, and to be a particular example for botanical gardens, because what you showed is exactly how a cooperation between in situ and ex situ should be established. And what you showed is really impressive. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just to echo that, I mean, I don't want to make this a mutual admiration society, but I think, you know, one of the challenges that we have is a cultural challenge, and that I'll talk about that tomorrow, and that is making this the #1 priority for our sector, and I'm sure you've had that as well. The other major problem that we have is that we're quite a long way behind with threat assessments for plants. We have around 400,000 plant species in the world, and whereas for mammals and birds, that's all been done. So making that a priority. And then something that Peter has mentioned is that there's also a gap between knowing that something is threatened and knowing whether anybody is carrying out work to protect it, in situ and ex situ. And actually IUCN, of course, have now recognized this, hence the green list, which frankly does not work well for plants, particularly long-lived plants like trees, but some way of tracking conservation action in situ and ex situ so we can see where the gaps are and apply a highly targeted approach. And that's, I'll talk about that tomorrow, that is a major gap in our knowledge still.
Yes, please, Mark.
Maybe just as a little response to that, thank you very much, first of all, but I think the credit goes to perhaps the previous generation of zoo directors 25 years ago who really set up these first broad principles through necessity of having to work cooperatively in a way with animals that perhaps was not such a necessity for plants at the time. And so, again, necessity is the mother of invention, and kind of that was really, but I think that reinforcing that has been incredibly important, and within the EASA community, of course, we have to have rules of membership to make this work, but actually that's important at one level, but at the other level is discussions at every single conference, and I passionately believe in what we call the spirit of EASA, where everybody is prepared to give up something for the mutual benefit of others, and that's cultural, and it takes some time to develop, but I see it happening in EASA, and it's something that perhaps I'm most proud of the community.
Thank you. And now that Sergei, you just mentioned the ambassador function of the zoo animals, making a bridge to their companions in the nature. We also face the situation that they say you are individuals, you may sacrifice for the species survival in nature. That is sometimes a very thin line where what you have to watch.